He has a 1-1 count. That one's struck high. Left side. That one's going. That's out of here off the right side. You have to be kidding me. Fireworks. And here you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as we continue along with another great edition of High and Tight, want to say thank you so very much for listening in, as always, and making this a part of your day. However you may be listening, wherever you may be listening, thank you for doing so. And as always, don't forget that you can catch us anywhere, really. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, also all the great premium content and more. Make sure to head on over to Rockfin to get all of our rankings, both team and individual, plus all these other great ranking statistics, advanced analytics that we're trying to get into. A lot of things that you can go ahead and catch up on that we would love to share with you. So again, please do that with us. Again, I'm Andrew Brown, helping to run through a lot of great baseball conversation. And I say that because this show and this IA baseball in general is all about highlighting baseball in Iowa, whether it's from the high school, college, to the professional ranks and beyond that. You know, it's really, really fun to be able to have these conversations with you. So please like and share, spread the word as much as you can. So, yeah, we are now going to dive into more conversation, but we're going to have a conversation that transcends not just high school, but beyond. In fact, it has covered high school, college, and now with the professionals, as we get a chance to talk from the pitching analytic kind of side of things. And more than that, the journey about how one ends up in that role. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk with now a pitching analyst for the Los Angeles Angels and a former University of Iowa baseball guy, and of course, Cedar Falls guy himself, the one and only Austin Marchesani is joining us here, and we'll get him on the Insights.com hotline right here and right now as he joins us, and we'll say, Austin, thanks again for joining. Hope the name went well. Hope the name pronunciation was great, but appreciate you coming along.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Name was perfect. You can imagine I've heard my name, every which way, but that's for sure one of the best ones I've heard.
Well, hey, I aim to please. Certainly, I aim to make it done right. But I gotta say, man, I have been following you for a while now, and I love it when Iowa guys make the big jump. You're right, and you've made every jump that there is, from high school to college to the professionals. I mean, you've done that all. You've been there. You've seen the game from the cerebral side, from the playing of the game, all that kind of thing. So really, it's kind of cool to have this kind of conversation with you as we hope to kind of break down that journey. But really appreciate you coming along. And as we start things off, I do want to ask, first off, I'll ask, where are you right now? Because where are you really impacts whether I say, how's the weather in the nice sunny weather compared to Iowa?
No, I'm actually in Iowa right now. I'm in my home in Cedar Falls. I was in spring training, for a while this
Yeah,
spring. But now as the season starts, I'm gonna kind of be going back and forth between here and Anaheim, some
yeah.
of our affiliates, wherever kind of they need me. But for now, I'm just like you in Iowa with this weather we're having now. But I'd sure like to be in Arizona or California right about now.
Oh man, I'm with you there. I look at spring training games and I've watched a lot, and I'm going, man, I got to get over this whole weather thing. Yeah, I'm sitting here. We have 70 degrees one moment, and then we're snow, 40-mile-an-hour winds. It's just like, gosh, it always reminds us that we're in Iowa. But
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. I mean, the worst part was when I was in spring training this year. Um, all my friends and family were telling me it was like 60 or 70 degrees in Iowa when I was in Tempe, and so I wasn't really missing anything when I was at spring training. But obviously now it's a little colder, and
Yeah.
I'd like to be back there if I could.
Oh man, I guess we saved all the great wintry weather for you when you get back.
Perfect. Yeah, love
But
it.
now, kind of take us through the spring training here a bit before we dive into kind of the journey for you here. Spring training, yeah, obviously, love to get there. It's kind of that kickoff, like, hey, baseball is back, and obviously it's the unofficial. I mean, the opening day is right around the corner. I mean,
Hmm.
we are just a matter of hours away. So, how is it every time we hit spring training? How cool is it to kind of go, hey, I got to ship off to spring training and get there and be in a lot of good facilities, man. What is it to be like to go for spring training for you?
No, I mean it's surreal, honestly. Like you said, I'm just a kid from Iowa. Like I'm no one special, and so giving or having the opportunity to go to Tempe and be around players like Mike Trout, or obviously last year we had Shohei, and like
Yeah,
just being around that crew and knowing that I'm supposed to be there. I'm part of this organization. It is really cool, and obviously this year we've had some turnover. We have a new manager, but like getting to meet Ron Washington and talk to him and even just hear how he speaks and getting to meet some of the legends of the game. Bobby Valentine, got to talk with him. Just a
oh,
lot of the people that you meet down there. It's just an awesome experience. And obviously being around the guys, in the bullpens is something that I did a lot in spring training. So just being around all the people that, being someone that's kind of remote or hybrid going from here to there, just
yep.
being around all these different people is something that spring training brings, and it's something that I'll never take for granted.
Oh man, and hey, a lot of people, this guy included, jealous, man. But again, you've earned it. You've earned it, and I say that because from day one, that whether that includes obviously Cedar Falls, Iowa, University of Iowa. So let's kind of first on take us through the path that started you on this path. I guess we'll take it back from the high school and all the roles that you have had.
Yeah.
And so, kind of take us through how the path to being a pitching analyst for a major league team. How did that first start for you?
Yeah, I mean, there's really like four big steps that I could break down to each one, and they each had a huge impact where I am. And so, I mean, it really started. I wanted to be a player, like a lot of guys. I played at Cedar Falls.
Yep.
I was lucky enough to be on the varsity team for 3 years there, and then I got an opportunity to play in college. I
Yep.
was at Kirkwood for a year, with Coach Todd Rima there, who was phenomenal. Pretty much the only coach that took a shot on me out of high
Yep.
school. So that's something that I'll always be grateful for with him, and I still talk to him to this day. But when I was at Kirkwood, I tore my UCL on the first day of practice, so I was completely out for the season. I was in a not great spot, like mentally, and I tried to keep myself locked in, but I pretty much knew that my playing career was going to be over, so I tried to keep myself in the game, and
Yep.
that's when our pitching coach at the time, his name's Dan McKinney. He's actually now with the Mets organization.
Yeah.
um, he introduced me to charting stats and being one of the bullpen guys that you see sit behind the stands sometime, or
Yeah.
sit next to him and just chart whatever. And so I was like, this is kind of fun. And so after I did that and I played at Kirkwood, I transferred back to UNI.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, it's in the hometown, and there's no real thought of being a coach at all.
Yep.
I actually started to do like private pitching lessons just to make some extra money, and as I did that, kind of the love for coaching really started there. So, I mean, from there, it was obviously the old Cedar Falls High School coach knew of me,
Yeah.
knew I came back, and so he reached out and was just like, "Hey, you want to start coaching?" And I'd rather do that than work at Hy-Vee or whatever that I was doing before. So that's kind of how the Cedar Falls High School journey started, and from there it was just they gave me a ton of just rope to do
Yep.
what I wanted. Implement a lot of things. There's a lot of trying new things and failing, and looking back on it, doing a lot of things that maybe weren't the best now, knowing what I know, but it was something that 19, 20-year-old me thought I was doing, what was best for the high school kids. So, being at UNI and being at Cedar Falls was really, really amazing. And then the big thing that happened when I was at UNI and coaching Cedar Falls was obviously I was going to school at UNI, getting my bachelor's degree, and that's when I looked for people to help me out with kind of like the sports analytics. And I met Robin Lund, who I'm sure you know, with
Yeah.
the Tigers now. He actually had a daughter that was in my grade. So I kind of knew of him a little bit, that he worked with the UNI softball team. But I met with him, and he kind of gave me this whole list of, if you want to work in baseball, here's all the things. And then shortly after, he texted me and he's like, "Hey, I just took the pitching, or assistant coach job with the Iowa Hawkeyes baseball team," and I was a little shocked. So, um, you know, needless to say, that was a pretty lucky stepping stone, I guess, for me. That was the one kind of area where you could point to and say that was kind of the first domino that fell, that
Yep.
led me to Iowa, and beyond. But like I said, Cedar Falls was just a great stop for me, just because of the rope they gave me and the free reign to do what I wanted, and help develop them, and kind of build those relationships.
Yeah.
Uh, Especially the coach there now, Brett Williams, who I'm still really close with, talk to him all the time. He's someone that still will text me today. What do you think? We have certain ideas. Just ask me, bounce things off me. But he gave me a ton of rope as a young kid, that I'm really grateful for. So that was the biggest thing I learned with Cedar Falls.
Yeah.
And
I
then, I mean, if you have questions with that, I can answer. I can move on to Iowa, but I know there's a lot to unpack at each part of my kind of
oh
story.
man, yeah, there is so much, and I know I gotta stop myself, Austin, a lot, and diving too much and taking a conversation to 5 hours. So I'm gonna try and do
Yeah.
my best with that. Sticking with it just briefly at the high school realm, there's obviously, when you get there, there's a lot of disparities. Obviously, when a lot more disparities in talent, and obviously when you get to college and pros, you're there for a reason. You're there. You got a lot of differences. From the coaching side of things, uh, there's a different lens, and obviously now being in the analytics, being in the data driven world, it's a different lens there. But how did those two end up kind of merging for you successfully? Because I know that you've taken a lot of what you've learned from the coaching world and put it in there. I can only imagine that's been a boost as you've looked there, because again, high school has a lot of variety and it's a lot about adaptability. But I guess for you, how did all that kind of merge successfully?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, a lot of it was just pure luck of my degree at UNI was being a stats major. And
Yeah,
so that kind of blended really well with what I was doing coaching. And then the other part was, again, my talk with Robin that I had when I was at UNI was,
yeah,
he basically said, "Hey, here's the way that coaches are going. There's not really going to be like computer analysts, and there's not going to be coaches, as they're kind of starting to become one thing. And so the more you can become that one person that can do both sides, the more marketable you're going to, make yourself when you apply for jobs, in whether it be college or obviously professional." So
yeah,
those kind of two things together really helped get on that track. But I always had loved numbers. And then obviously the coaching was kind of as I did the lessons and worked with Cedar Falls. But I
yeah.
knew if I wanted to get to the level I'm at now, I had to blend them together, and be that one person that does two kind of separate jobs.
Yeah, well, man, and certainly it ended up very well. Again, as we're sitting here with the Angels organization here, Austin, very cool. I do want to go and take that to the step of University of Iowa, which
Hmm.
now for several years, I say several, quite some time, has been known for the analytical movement of it, and obviously being a part of that, seeing that. It wasn't that long ago in the grand scheme where that was, even in college, a little far off.
Hmm.
Analytics of that nature. What was it like to come in and kind of change that narrative a little bit? Because now we look at Iowa baseball and just college baseball and go, why didn't we do this earlier?
Yeah.
Why haven't we done this since day one? But you were part of that help that came in, and man, it transformed into what is almost every department has now.
Yeah, I mean, here's what I'll say to that is, I had nothing to do with actually getting Iowa to that spot. Is the people that came before me, the Jake Stones, the Adam
Yep,
Shucks, the Sam Bournes, like all those guys. By the time I got to Iowa, they were just a machine, and I was happy to be able to latch on pretty quickly and
yep,
keep what Iowa managers use is moving the needle. I was able to do that super quickly, but really it just came down to kind of the cohesiveness of the whole program.
Yep.
Whether it be Coach Heller, obviously Robin when he was there,
Yep.
they would all come down to the manager's office and treat us as if we were all assistant coaches. They were bouncing ideas off, and they all trusted us just as much as the other people, the members of the coaching staff. So really, a lot of it was just the communication and the structure that, like I said, the people before me at Iowa had set up to where it's not just me, but anyone that wants to be in professional baseball.
Hmm.
You go to Iowa, and they're setting you on that path. Like I looked into being a graduate assistant places and all that, but as soon as I talked to Robin and I talked to some of the other managers, and they're like, if you come here, we will get you a job in professional baseball if that's what you want. And now that I've gone through it, I can say that that's 100% true. If you go there and you do the work and really put time into it, you will 100% get whatever job in professional baseball you're looking for, and I will help you achieve that.
Oh, and that is cool to hear, man. I love the support given. Obviously, there's a lot of challenges that go through it. As you look through, obviously we're sitting here talking as a pitching analyst. I know that you've been involved with a lot of things here. Has there been a certain drive to go more towards the pitching side, or is that kind of come with how you've evolved into not just the role, but the positions you've come through? Has there been a preference there, or has it just again like been the role that has dictated where you go?
Yeah, no, there's always been a preference. I was a pitcher in high school and in college. The other thing with it is just there's so much more technology available on the pitching side.
Yep.
Rapsodos and TrackMan were way more readily available on the pitching side and kind of the ball tracking. In terms of like the hitting side, you have Blast, and you have obviously now with major league teams, you have Hawkeye and all these biomechanical stuff. That's
Yep.
really awesome to work with. But just some of those earlier technologies were a lot more focused on the pitching side. So from the time I played to even started coaching, there was always a bias towards pitching because I knew more about it. I'd gone through it. I knew a lot about the motion without the fancy biomechanical stuff.
Yeah.
But it was just that the data was so much more readily available, and I could do a lot more work with that.
With I always look at baseball, and obviously there's tiers, right? You have your high school, the college, then the pros, and stuff like that. But then I kind of ask myself, how do I feel like that when it comes to analytics? We're trying to do analytics here, just kind of as a fun exercise in the high school realm. But obviously, it's been there, like we mentioned, in the college and the pros. When now we kind of look at it now a little differently because at Iowa, almost everything is in play. You see articles about the true strike zone that I know the baseball
Mm-hmm.
managers just came out with recently. RPI bias, all that. The really really interesting stuff. Were there one of the things I noticed with high school and some stats analytically, it's just you can't compare it because there's not the data point and data sets. Was there any challenges like that or related to that within the college game that didn't transfer well over to or wasn't available there, or did it all really transfer well going to the major league ranks? Was it seamless, or were there challenges in that realm?
I will say Iowa does a great job of preparing you for that. I would say better than any school in the country. I'm not going to say it was seamless just because most colleges now that have these tracking technologies will have TrackMan, which I'm sure you've heard of, and
Yep.
that spits out a ton of data points. The thing that we get now and what the Angels get and what every MLB team has, and a lot of minor league teams are moving to this now is Hawkeye, which
Okay.
just is basically TrackMan on steroids. You get a ton more data, even more that you have to ingest and analyze. And
Really?
we have not just player tracking, but specific angles and body part tracking, and that's where you get obviously the biomechanical stuff. So
Mm.
um, it's not necessarily Iowa didn't prepare me. It's just there's more data that you get in the major league level, so there's more you have to learn about and ingest. And obviously there's more people on the Angels now on my team that I don't need to know everything about, every variable we get.
Yeah.
But knowing at least a little bit about everything can help tie in, a lot of the research or analysis that I do. So just kind of the base foundation of how to do an analysis. Iowa does a great job of preparing you for that, and then as you make that jump to pro ball and you get Hawkeye and more, advanced technologies, it's
Yeah.
just a matter of learning the kind of variables you have. But the actual work you do is very similar across all levels.
And take me through now, as again, ladies and gentlemen, as we are talking about just the pathway to doing such great things. Pitching analytics at the major league level. Austin is doing that right now, and we're chatting with him as we go through the on the insulights.com hotline. And Austin, I also, as we make that jump, talk to me first about the process to get there, to get to that, to get to that point where you have now the job. And what was that process like? I think that's kind of the behind the scenes that not a lot of people go through. But how did you one kind of like get connected? What was it like, and what was the feeling like when you first found out I'm going to be part of a major league team?
Yeah, really, the process started. So I went to Iowa the fall of 2021 after I graduated from UNI with my bachelor's for my master's degree, which was a year and a half program. And
Okay.
so I knew that summer I wanted to start. There's a lot of internships over the summer that I was like, okay, I'd get a job with an internship with an MLB team, and that kind of puts my foot in the door. Um, and I didn't get a job with an MLB team. I applied and no one hired me. So, a lot of people think, oh, I'm just, I got an internship and it was all handed and it was all super easy, but it really wasn't. I probably got rejected from 50 to 70 different internships. I applied to everything in the major leagues and I didn't get it. So, I ended up taking a job at a training facility in St. Louis called Premier Pitching Performance, which again helped me tremendously. But really, it was just using that as a stepping stone. So as I was
Okay.
going through the application process at the end of my time at Iowa, it was the blog post that I had written at Iowa. So I did a couple pieces on the dead zone fastball.
Mm-hmm.
I helped build the Stuff Plus model that Iowa has, and so posting those things on Twitter. And if there's anyone out there watching that's an aspiring person that wants to be in a similar position to me, if you post things on Twitter, people will see it. It doesn't matter, if they're liking it, if they're retweeting it. Like, no, I promise, no MLB, GM was liking my tweets, but now that I'm in, a MLB organization, those tweets get thrown around and passed around in our internal communication tools all the time.
Yeah.
Like, hey, this person's doing research here, check it out, whether or not it's getting likes or not. So it was really just a matter of, I didn't know it at the time, but me putting out my research and what I was doing on Twitter or
Yep.
X, whatever you want to call it now,
Yeah.
putting that research out and people really seeing it. When I went to actually interview for jobs, they brought it up and they said, hey, I know you did this, like explain to me what you did. And so um, as that process went on, it really just again made me grateful for how Iowa prepared me, because
Yeah.
at the time going through the interviews, I thought it was going to be a lot like the summer where I'm going to get maybe a couple second round interviews but not really get anything. um, but then specifically with the Angels, my interview, I really hit it off with just the team I'm with now.
Yeah.
I have a really good team, led by Jared Hughes, who is a former major league pitcher. He is phenomenal, awesome, just a ton of knowledge that I've learned from him. And when I went to my interview with them, it was like I was already on the team and just kind of talking with them. Like it was a great feeling. I didn't really get that from many other teams. So the process was super quick with them. I think I had the interview and I had a job offer by the next day,
Wow.
which was unheard of for the other kind of situations that I'd been through. A lot of them had dragged on, and so that was another kind of major selling point for me, where they showed that they wanted me, they liked what I did, they had a lot of ideas, and I had a lot of ideas for them, obviously. So it was something where I just had a really good feeling with. They wanted me. They had a lot of good ideas that I thought I could contribute to their team, and so I accepted it pretty quick, and it was surreal. I didn't know if I was going to be in California, if I was going to stay in Iowa, if I was going to be in a minor league, wherever. But just the fact that I had made kind of my ultimate goal was pretty special. And that was in November, and I started working January 1st of that next year. So pretty quick turnaround, but again, it's something I'm always going to take, not going to take for granted. Just being a part of an MLB org, no matter how long the hours get. Obviously, West Coast games, they're starting at 9 p.m. Central Time when I'm in Iowa. I'm up pretty late, but
Yeah.
being a part of a major league org is something that no matter what's happening, I'm never going to take for granted.
Oh man, and that is really absolutely amazing. I love it. The fact that we get I mean, the moments where you get, hey, I made it, because a lot of work gets put in, and I love the story of, obviously from the point of not giving up. I know that I know there probably were doubts in there, man, but you get
Hmm.
through, you push through, and now you can say you're with the Angels, and man, that's always fun. Now, as you look at it, what does your past spring training here? You get to go to spring training. You get to laugh at us when we're in cold weather and you have baseball in warm weather. But if you could kind of break it down for me, what's the job like once you hit season? You start the season. You mentioned earlier that you're kind of bouncing around a little bit.
Hmm.
What is your kind of role, and what does it entail? Or I mean, what is the hectic life? Baseball's already hectic enough. What's the hectic life for you when it comes to the regular season?
Yeah, I mean, when the regular season comes around, a lot of it can just be summed by the word monitoring.
Uh huh.
Obviously we play 162 games at the major league level, and
Yep.
close to that on the minor league side. So there's not a ton of extra time to work on things. So
Yep.
we've done all our preparation this off season, and obviously spring training we did a lot of implementing that. So once the season starts, and we play games, a lot of my job the next day is just going through every single pitcher that pitched, whether it be our rookie ball complex or the major league side, and monitoring everything we have, whether it's
Okay.
velocities, spin rates, movements, whatever it may be, performance metrics, and monitoring to see, are they increasing, decreasing, good, bad, and that's kind of my judgment. And then from there, I decide, hey, is this something we need to take action on or not? Myself along with my team kind of discuss that, and then if it's something we take action on, we'll kind of put some resources together. Whether it be a different way we want to attack with a pitcher, or an adjustment to a certain pitch we want to make. And like I said, we'll just put resources together and then get that to either coaches or the right person to present to the athletes. Because obviously, I'm not working with the athletes directly. I don't have the day to day contact that the obviously pitching coaches with each org have.
Yep.
So the way that works in season is I'm kind of that middleman. I notice what's happening. I put some resources together and I give it to the coach. If the coach has questions, they can ask me. Otherwise, the coach can give it to the athlete because they have a better relationship. So a lot of it is talking with the coaches and coordinators that we have,
Yep.
along with my team, and just making sure all those things that we put together this off season. We spent a lot of time putting those plans together and adjustments, making sure that those aren't going away just because the season starts and we can't be with them every step of the way like spring training. We want to make sure that we're continuing to do what we believe is the best thing for each athlete.
So you, in a sense, get to see, potentially you could see the entire organization in a season or even a week. Is that where's when it comes to, obviously you like all the facilities. Angels do a good job with their facilities. They put a lot of care into
Mm.
everything like that. Great stuff. Is there a certain facility in general you like going to a little bit more than obviously? Let's say that obviously Anaheim Angels, that's
Mm.
near the top. Is there another facility that really stands out to you?
I like our AAA ballpark.
Yeah.
The Salt Lake Bees. Salt Lake City is just, there's mountains in the background. It's just a beautiful place. It was the first stadium I went to besides Anaheim. So it's just a really cool facility, mixed with the view, that I could have been a little biased because I'd never really been to mountains before the first time I went. But
Yep.
again, that facility is super nice. Kind of the atmosphere. Obviously, Salt Lake doesn't have a major league team anywhere near there,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of fans that were there when I was there. But like I said, the facilities there are super cool. I haven't had a chance to be there, and I'm sure this would kind of top it. But our AA team, the Rocket City Trash Pandas, they're they have a huge following on social media, and their crowds are just as big. They
Yeah.
don't have a ton going around near them. Like I said, I haven't necessarily been to Rocket City yet, but from everything I've heard, it's another really cool atmosphere down there. But the ones I've been to, Salt Lake is the best view. But I know that Rocket City does a lot of awesome work, social media behind the scenes, and they have a
Yeah.
really, really good fan base.
Oh gosh, I gotta say, I do love the Trash Pandas. That was a genius name there. But again, everybody, Austin Marchesani joining us on the Insolites.com hotline. And Austin, as we kind of wind things down here, I did want to ask here too. You are a guy that I'm sure has had those conversations deep in analytics, looking at there. And right now, we have more analytics out there to average Joes like myself than ever before. Now, obviously, you know very well about that. Um, you see a lot of them again in pitching, from FIP to Sierra, to all those things. Have what's kind of been the coolest? I know this is kind of a big thing, but like coolest stat or most interesting stat, because every stat tells a story, right? But what stories are kind of more interesting to tell? And I think there's a lot of things that are hidden to the eye, that are hidden to hidden against bias and all that stuff that people have towards their favorite teams or players, that maybe the numbers bear out differently. Has there been one? Have you gotten that sense? And what's been the, I guess, most interesting stat or stats that you have had to come across?
Yeah, no, for sure. I've gotten that sense where, each stat has its own purpose, and there's certainly, there's things wrong with every stat. Not one stat is perfect. And that's
Yeah.
why, part of my job is to not look at one specific stat, but I take the whole story and, make the story of a pitcher. But
Yep.
if there's one stat that I've, enjoy and I look at, and I'm going to use something that's, it's not super complicated. It's something that,
Yeah.
high school people can even keep track of, but it's kind of the holy grail, which is in zone miss. If you can generate miss, if you can get swing and miss with your pitches in the strike zone, you're going to be a really good pitcher. It doesn't matter, what level you're at. What we see is a lot of the times the best pitchers at each level can get swing and miss, in the strike zone.
Yeah.
Whether it be, obviously you got the Cy Young candidates with like Blake Snell and the Garrett Coles of the world get a ton of end zone miss, and then throwing out some Iowa guys. Obviously, Brody Breck can get a ton of swing and miss, even with his fastball in zone. And then you can keep track of that super easily in high school if you have, someone behind home plate can guess, or, not superficial, but they can guess, was it in the strike zone?
Yeah.
Did they swing and miss? So that's just an easy, super simple tool, but it's kind of the king. If you can generate swing and miss, even when the ball's in the strike zone, you're going to find a lot of success as a pitcher. Now, obviously, there's a lot of different ways to be successful. You can be a ground ball pitcher, and
Mhm.
a lot of other different ways. But just in general, that's kind of the one thing that everyone is chasing. If you can do that, odds are you're going to be a pretty successful pitcher and have a pretty successful career.
Oh man, and yeah. When you look at some of the best, I bet they've gone through with that, and I love how the conversation has developed over time, and it really is cool to look at. And yeah, we have a great partner in a hitting approach that's they all their coach, head coach of Millerville in Pennsylvania. Really, he has talked a number of times about diving into that. What are they haven't been tracking before, and what are they tracking now? It's just really, that's a fun conversation to have. And I know both of us could get lost in that conversation for hours and hours on end. But again, as we wrap things up, Austin, um, I love the story. I love everything that you have going. And so one of the things that I've also kind of wondered here is, practicality. Since you mentioned you're back in Iowa, was there a thought about where, again, since you're all over the place, about where you might end up living? And I know that this is obviously home for you, but I mean, that's kind of those logistical things that I never thought about until I go, man, like some, if you're going all the way with the West Coast team, that's
Mm-hmm.
that's a ways from home, but you can move around a lot. So what's been your thought process in terms of where you end up and kind of how you maneuver within the season?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, it's just it's tough to do.
Yeah.
My thought is, as I'm young right now, and I'm not married. I have a girlfriend, but not married, so I don't have a family or anything that I'm have to be around or don't want to miss anything like that. So, while I don't have any of that, I figure I can do a lot of that traveling
Hmm.
right now. But the way that kind of baseball is structured is I know that there's a pretty high, turnover rate, whether it be people leaving or, just kind of a change of scenery for different orgs. And I know that there's not necessarily going to be always the same spot for me my whole career.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the mindset that I knew I had to go into this industry with. Obviously, I hope I have a long career, and whether it's with the Angels for the whole time or things don't work out. I do know that regardless of what it is, right now my really only goal is to better myself and what I'm doing. That way, you know, if another opportunity comes up or within the Angels, there's a promotion or whatever it may be, I'm prepared for that. And then if I need to rethink or something changes, a big step in my life, whatever it may be, I'm kind of prepared for that. But you're absolutely right, Andrews. That's one thing that people don't really notice and think about is you do a lot of the time have to kind of get up and just move, and you're going all around and doing a lot of different things. So behind the scenes, it's tough. My boss has a couple little kids, and I know going to spring training for him was tough. So I mean, to answer your question, there's not really a place that I'm like dead set on. Obviously, I like Iowa. I like being around the Midwest, but I'll do what I need to do, and obviously I'll find a job that I believe fits me the best. That works with whatever situation I'm in at the time. But for now, like I said, I love being in Iowa. I'm happy to be in Iowa. But obviously, going to Arizona and LA and all these other places is a really nice perk. But being in Iowa for now is really really nice.
Oh, no doubt about that. And man, again, congrats. What a story. I absolutely love it. And man, I have to make sure I have to get you on again as we go out and have more conversations because I would love to pick your brain about all these types of analytics, everything of that nature because it's really fun to dive into this, but it's also much better when you have someone like yourself who knows what the applications of all of it and where it goes just beyond what the number presents you. So uh, really, really cool. And I know I tagged it for Jen just for about 30 minutes here. We're up to 37, but again, Austin, appreciate it. Again, I'd love to have you on again to go over some more stuff and dive into as much analytics as we can get.
I baseball. Obviously, games. It's something awesome that you guys are doing. So I appreciate you guys doing that as well.
Well, hey, I really appreciate you joining us and what has been a great, great conversation, Austin. Thanks for doing that. Can't wait to get some more, and I'll let you enjoy what great Iowa weather we have left here.
For sure. All right. Thanks, Andrew. Go Angels.
Oh, Angels. And hey, by the way, go Hawks. And again, I really want to thank Austin for taking the time. So, hey, we're going to end this conversation right here, right now. Again, catch it up on YouTube as well as Rockman and other great places. Hey, if you didn't catch us live, make sure, oh, as I'm knocking stuff over here, hey, we're giving a hat away this week. In fact, on Friday, we'll go ahead and let you know how you can get this IA Black Eye hat. And hey, you'll get this, and it's really adjustable, so any size. So take it. Hey, Will, thank you for there, and hey, thanks again for everything. Make sure to like, subscribe, and until we see each other next time, stay safe on the base pass. Thanks, guys.